Hi there, it's Lynn Cox, clinical hypnotherapist, rapid transformational therapist, and stress and performance expert. I'm just outside walking, trying to catch a little bit of the natural sunlight that we've got here in Calgary. It's a bit warm today. But yes, I'm hopping on because I'm hoping to provide a few tips and tricks, some things that you can maybe some knowledge that maybe can help you in your endeavors to feel better, feel less stress, deal better with the stressors of life, be healthier, etc. So what I wanted to talk about today is there are some fail-safe rules of the mind that not everybody's aware of. So one of the key fundamentals that it's very basic, and once you truly understand this, it can revolutionize the way that you think and talk to yourself, is this fact. The mind only responds to two things ever. I have talked about this before. I think it's been a little while, but I think it's high time to remind people of this and bring this to the forefront. So the two things the mind responds to are words and pictures. So, words and pictures. It's interesting because often when I'm in a session with people, not everybody is, actively visualizes. That means with their eyes closed while we're having a session, feels like they can visualize or see a picture in their mind. That doesn't matter because the mind does respond to words and pictures, but here's the thing. The words create the pictures in your mind. So you don't actually have to have that sense that you're seeing it, because as soon as you say the word, it generates that thought. It will generate the picture for your mind. So the mind responds to words and pictures. So what does that mean from the perspective of how you're feeling and what you're thinking and how you're responding in situations? Well, if the mind responds to words and pictures, it's basically up to you to put better words and better pictures in place. So some common things I've seen over the past few years with people, particularly with how it relates to stress and performance and anxiety, is people take ownership of certain experiences through their words. So I'll often have people say, my anxiety, my stress. I've talked about this in other videos as well too. You don't want to take ownership of that experience. Instead, you could recognize, I'm having some feelings that feel like anxiousness, that feel like stress. I notice things happening in my body, sensations in my body, upset stomach, headache, sweaty palms, etc. So you can recognize those things, but do not ever hopefully say to yourself, my anxiety, my stress, my fear, my phobia. Once you do that, you make it become yours, essentially. Talking about the words and pictures and how we view things. So I just posted in my stories some feedback from a client who suffers. We'll see how she comes along, and I think I'll have a more fulsome testimonial from her soon. But severe anxiety, not wanting even to leave her house to drive to medical appointments that she needed to go to. Like a level of anxiety she was experiencing that made her want to stay in her home. So it was like a day after our session, she felt an immediate change and felt like she wanted to get out and go to these appointments because she wanted to become more active in her healing process, because she's also dealing with physical issues. That wasn't why she saw me. She saw me for her experience of anxiety. But, fears of speaking in front of people, meeting people, being in social situations, doing sales, making pitches. People can often be telling themselves like, I don't want to do this. I don't like doing this. That is just creating a whole unappealing picture in your mind of what that experience is going to be like. So you can lie to your mind. You can trick your mind. You can start to say things like, I'll do another video on this entirely, but if you're having those physical sensations that you interpret as stress or anxiety, you can say to yourself, I'm excited to do this, because actually our physiological response to excitement is the same as that for stress. So you can tell yourself, I'm excited to do this. You could feel your palms sweaty and say, this means I'm excited. I can't wait to do this. I get to do this. I'm happy to do this. You can start to say, I can see myself standing in that room, talking to people, delivering my message, being well received. You start to create that picture for yourself in your mind. You do it through words. Depending on how visual you are or not, doesn't matter. If you start to use those words and say those words, the picture will generate itself. And doing this repetitively can really change your experience, like truly change your experience. One small change I've made in my life over the past few years that's been extraordinarily helpful is, sometimes there's things that we must do, requirements of life that maybe don't seem so fun at times, like administrative work with our businesses, or more difficult maybe clients or situations, or sometimes maybe we don't feel like working out. So rather than say, I have to do something, I have to do this, I have to make that call, I have totally flipped my language around that and instead now say, I get to. Because the fact of the matter is, some people don't get to. Some people are, too sick. Some people have transitioned and are no longer living. So the fact is, there are things that need to be done. May not be our favorite things in the world to do, but I've switched my language to, I get to do this. I get to do it. I get to bundle up, in the cold and walk my dog. How lucky am I that he's still around, that I actually have the physical ability to do that, versus, man, it's cold. I don't want to do that. I have to do that. It's a totally different energy, and after the repetition, it really does start to change how you're feeling. So just remember, our mind responds to words and pictures. We can first trick the mind. First, we trick it by very deliberately changing our language to how we'd want to feel instead. And then after we've done that, tricking of our mind, we train it. You train it through repetition. Just the same way you train, dogs, just the same way you help children learn how to tie their shoes after time and time and time again through repetition. Obviously doing something like an RTT session, going into hypnosis, figuring out what lies beneath your particular issue, enormously helpful. But these are things that you can do on your own. Trick your mind, know that it responds to words and pictures, and make a decision if you do want to have a more enjoyable experience. You can. You could put better words in, which are going to make better pictures. You trick your mind, and then through repetition, you train your mind. Super simple. That's often the case, that the greatest solutions tend to be the most simple and elegant, but not always easy, because we have to be the ones to implement them. So those are my thoughts for today. Reach out if you have any questions, and hope you're having a great Monday.